The Walking Dead Q&A 58. Alright, Deadheads, I'm a little worn out, so my energy levels aren't at their peak, but I want to run through a couple questions here. Now, again, if you want to ask questions or participate in the Q&A, make sure you ask TV questions in the TV Q&A video. Again, please, I see so many people being like, well, I'm here anyway, so I'll just ask the thing. I don't mean to be a dick and not answer them, it's just I'm only pulling from the most recent video. Anyway, let's get right on here. I don't want to babble too much. Jonas Sandstorm asked, are the Negan and the Saviors a part of the Wolves, or do the Wolves work for the Saviors at all? No, I see a lot of people talking about this, and you have to understand that is completely counterproductive to who Negan is and what he stands for. Now, before you sit there and say, hey, dumbass, the show isn't like the comic book, well, I rebut that by saying, yes, the show is very much like the comic book. On a lot of the important points, the show is exactly like the comic book. What's Alexandria called? It is Alexandria, you know? We have the main foundation. You have the Herschel Green characters. You have the Herschel farm. You have the prison. You have Michonne and her pets. Everyone dies and turns. Everyone's already infected. A lot of main points are the same. So Negan will be the same. I mean, think about it. You change that one little aspect of Negan, that one tiny aspect that he extorts the communities out of supplies. You change that one thing. You now change Negan's introduction, how they meet Negan, Negan's interactions with all the other communities. You change all-out war because you change that one little aspect. You now have to change an entire story of this guy. So because you have to change so much, they would never in a million years change that one little fact. Negan, for sure, is extorting or will be extorting the communities. Changing that one thing changes so much. I don't see why they would even give themselves the headache of changing that. Obvious Slinky, why all the hate for Father Gabriel? Yeah, he gets a lot of hate. Listen, I love the actor. I'll break balls on Father Gabriel, but because I love the actor, I am really pushing for Father Gabriel as a character to step it up. So I'm loving that he is disgusted with his actions in Season 5 and with what he said. I'm loving that. I really want to see Father Gabriel become a positive character and rebuild his fan base now. I really want to see that from Father Gabriel and Sasha, two biggest characters, because she had a little bit of a justifiable attitude last season. I don't know why she got all the hate. I think a lot of people are just pissed that she's taken over some of Comic Book Andrea's storylines because they're afraid like she's going to get mixed up with Rick. And yes, they did not show any of that or hint to any of that. However, they didn't either in the comic. There was some very subtle things, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, okay, you know. I'm not saying they're going to get together, Sasha and Rick. I'm just saying, I think that adds a lot to do with some of the hate for Sasha. But Father Gabriel, yeah, fans just like to cling on that one thing and express themselves. So when they're all like, oh yeah, I fucking hate Father Gabriel, it's becoming like its own joke, you know. Ken Mortia, I think that's his name, asked if Jesus is the one that taught Morgan his skills. No. And I'm not even going to justify that by going in depth. I'm just going to simply say Morgan lived 650 miles away from where Jesus is in the sanctuary, in the hilltop. For me, it just does not seem plausible that Jesus would establish himself as like a very respectable member of the hilltop, a trusted member and scout. He's so trusted, they trust him to go out and get new recruits and bring them back. They trust him to go around to the communities and be their representative. You know what I mean? Their ambassador to other communities. They trust him that much. I can go on and on. It doesn't make sense that he would be almost 700 miles away teaching Morgan some kung fu and then haul his ass for no reason back to the hilltop, do what he needs to do to gain their trust, interact with Negan and the Saviors, and establish that background. It's, to me, utterly ridiculous. And if they ever did do that, which they'll never do that, I'm putting money on it right now, they would never do that in a million years because it's fan service only. Moving on. For Leah, damn. 24. For Leo, 24. I think I screwed that up. I wrote these down real quick because my phone died, but hold on. Will they skip the all-out war scene with the grenades? I don't believe they have any reason to, because in the comic book, if I'm not mistaken, they didn't even know how to use the tank. And in the show, they were like, let's blow shit up. Which I think that was a very good choice. So no, I don't think they're going to skip it because it costs money, you know? Ellie Mortison. Is Maggie pregnant? And will she get the comic book death? Is Maggie pregnant? That's in the air. As far as getting the Laurie's comic book death, I'm sorry I messed that up. But I don't believe they would go that route because that's difficult. Not difficult to guess whether or not they'd go that route. I 100% believe they would not go that route because it doesn't really serve that much of a purpose. For the comic book, it served a huge purpose for Rick establishing, you know, some sort of normalcy, some hope, and then it was just wiped away and he was left in the ruins, which is him and Carl. Carl became his little beacon of hope to protect. I mean, Carl became his everything, and that motivated a lot of his decisions, a lot. With the show, look at how that would work. Glenn would just lose Maggie and his newborn child, and he would just be left in ruins with nothing else to motivate him. I just don't see that moving the story along. So even though it would be a very shocking death, I think it's useless in the story. Kyle Earlywine. What is my favorite new season 6 character? Right now, it would be Heath. We're not really that deep into this story for season 6 for me to have many others, so I'm picking Heath right now. And that is a character that was only introduced in season 6. That's what I'm going with, if that's what you mean. Jordan Brailsford. Will Tara get a girlfriend? I mean, it's possible. I am not sure. If it fits the story, then yeah, she'll get a girlfriend. But she had one with the governor shit. So, again, would it be fans just saying, hey, you're recycling storylines again? Or is it realistic for the story that they're playing out? If it's realistic, if it fits, then yes. If not, it would just be them recycling that old, you know. They did it with the governor, so I don't know. Constantly dying. With them going to Alexandria, you're saying that they're establishing like little city-states, and what's the future of the story? Is it possible that will be the future? I believe that's the strongest outcome, because having them establish Alexandria, establish communities, trade routes, roads, have organizations like that, it just seems like it would be backtracking to wipe that all out and then start with them living in a shed, hiding out, and then traveling around looking for supplies. Because you have to be realistic. At this point in the apocalypse, they're not going to be able to find, and I'm talking about well after Negan and everything, if they just wipe out the communities, they're not going to find food, you know, hidden in cabinets and shit anymore. So they would actually have to, in order to survive, just stop running, build a farm, no matter what. The story really does revolve around food, realistically. You can't throw them on the road after building up an empire or a city-state for 10 years, you know, because then when they go out on the road, unless they run into other established communities which could work, you know, there's not really much for them to do. X-Kings Entertainment. Will it be survivors and wolves and saviors during an all-out war? No, I don't believe that would even be good in the mix, because I don't believe the wolves have enough numbers to take a hit at Alexandria, take another hit fighting off Alexandria, and then coming back and being a part of the whole all-out war thing. I don't think it fits, based on the numbers that the Wolves have. Sean McFegan. Will Carol and Tobin have a romance? I'm assuming you pulled that because they said 2 sentences to each other before. I don't see it in any way, shape, or form. If I missed something, please let me know in the comment box. I don't see it. Siddharth V. How do you think Negan's character will be fleshed out realistically, and what am I working on? Well, I'm working on a project called Dead Living. That's only a working title, not the real title. You can go check that out. Now, moving along about realistically developing Negan's character, that's one of the easiest characters to develop. A lot of people look at him as someone who's just, you know, comic book character, and yeah, there's things he does that it's out there, and it is like that, just a character created for the comic book. But there's some elements to Negan that's very realistic and you can play with. You could take a person who has had the right idea for establishing communities and trade routes and everything like that, just tired of the bullshit beating around the bush and wanted to be blunt with it, and he was like, hey, you know what, the best way to do this is you do what I say, I'll keep this protected, we'll keep this clean, you can be safe, you know, give us some of your goods. That community's like, oh, you know what, that's a decent deal, let's do this. And then that community's like, after Negan and them clear it out, the community's like, well, we don't really have that many goods, we're not going to give you anything. Negan's people are pissed, Negan's pissed, now he's disrespected, and then he's like, well, you know what, let's just go kill one or two of their people, show them who's boss, because now he's pissed off and whatever. And I'm trying to be as quick as explaining this as possible, but I'm saying you can use something similar to that to snowball Negan's character into taking the easy road and being like, listen, I can walk in here, bully these people, use old world mafia tactics, and just say, listen, this is the easiest way. You stay safe, I get supplies, everybody wins. And that morphs and twists and gets perverted, and then we finally get Negan when he meets Rick and his gang in the comic book. I think that would work out perfectly. Lamont Big Boar 54 Albin. Are there any preppers in The Walking Dead? There should be. Realistically, there should be. Listen, there's a lot of preppers this day and age. However, you have to understand there's one big factor. There would not be any zombies, any zombie shows. There might not be many apocalyptic entertainment in the world of The Walking Dead. So therefore, there will be a lot less preppers. Because there's a lot of zombie fans that are preppers. Just because they love the idea of apocalypse and preparing for the end. So there will be less preppers in the world of The Walking Dead, but there's still going to be enough preppers to where realistically, eventually, they should be running into either one, two, or a family or a community somewhere out there that is a prepper. Annoying vlogger. The walkers are decaying. Will this become a problem for the Whispers? That is a great question. It's something I was actually going to make a video on, and I agree. It is problematic because the Whispers need a skin. Look at a lot of the walkers they're showing now. They barely have faces. So although it is problematic, we do get hints in the comic book which makes it realistic. What hints? When Lydia says that Alpha and their group always run into small communities, little groups of survivors. Being as that's the case, they're using these rotted walkers as their weapon and to herd up, but they're using those other the people that they run into, the little communities, and killing them for the skins, so they're fresh skins. So I think that would play out perfectly, and in the show they can use that. You know, they know it's coming, so they can prepare for that. But that's a way to do it. It would be as if you see a small gang of survivors, and the Whispers are like, well, you know what? They're in our territory, we need skins anyway, we're gonna go attack them and whatever. That could play out the same way, because they're messed up people anyhow. Listen guys, thank you for participating. Thoughts and opinions about these questions in that comment box. I'm done talking, it's your turn.